Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to I Care About You, the podcast where we navigate life's challenges with compassion, curiosity, and care. I'm your host, Juliana J., and I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for taking the time to invest in yourself. You know, Ram Dass always said the best gift we can give others is to work on ourselves. And in doing so, we make everyone else's life better too, which is so true, right? When you think about it. Today, we're going to talk about something that almost everyone struggles with, whether you realize it or not, giving yourself permission to slow down. We're going to talk about why we feel the need to always be working and moving and doing all the time, and what this does to ourselves over the long haul, and how we give ourselves permission to slow down. If you've ever felt like you're living life in the fast lane, like you're always behind, you're never doing enough, you're constantly pushing yourself to be productive, or maybe you're just always feeling tired, always overwhelmed, always unsatisfied, you're wondering where your lust or joy for life has gone, and your life seems off balance, then this episode is definitely for you. Now, I spent a lot of time in the hustle culture, decades, I'm sorry to say, really believing that that's how I would get the things I wanted in life. And it turned out to just be this urban legend. Like, that wasn't really bringing me the things I wanted. It wasn't even bringing me the things that were expected, like elevating my quality of life, like financial security, like just things that were expected in a hustle culture, but also all the other things you think you're going to get, like more time for yourself, vacations, fancy things, whatever it is you're thinking hustling is going to give you, it just did not pan out. And one of the main things I think that's underlining all these other sort of outside of yourself things that you think hustle culture is going to bring, like financial security or a great title that you can talk about at parties or like lots of friends or whatever, it's really the things that are inside of you that you're looking for when you enter into this hustle culture. You're looking for, or at least for me, I felt like at the end of the day, I realized, I'm not looking for those things so much so as I'm looking for validation. I'm looking to be heard. I'm looking to be seen. I'm looking for somebody to say, good job, well done, you're amazing. I'm looking for value. And all that stuff lies inside of myself, but I did not even notice that's what I wanted until I really sat with, why am I always hustling all the time? Why am I always doing 1,000 things? And I realized that when you break it all down, it's really about having value and worth. And that's been my personal experience. But let's kind of pull apart this hustle culture, this need to be constantly moving. Why do we hustle so much? So that was really the underlining thing that was making me hustle. I was looking for worth and validation. But let's ask the big question. Why do we feel so pressured to hustle all the time? We live in a culture that glorifies being busy. We're taught that productivity equals worth and rest is lazy and selfish. There's messages out there like, I'll sleep in when I'm dead, rise and grind. Those flood our social media feeds and they create our reality on some level. I remember like maybe a decade ago, there was a lot of people graduating college and moving into the work world, and they were so bought into hook, line, and sinker, this hustle culture, this rise and grind, this I'll sleep when I'm dead, this play hard, work hard, all these silly sayings that society had created simply to make you work harder for your jobs. It wasn't necessarily anything about you and your own value, your own worth, and your own enjoyment in life. It was really all about how productive can you be for the work world. But the constant truth is, the more you drive without pausing, rest, reflecting, the more you just are running and running and running and not stopping, not resting, not reflecting on why you're even doing it, that all comes at a real cost. So what are those costs? When we live life in overdrive, burnout is inevitable, of course. And that happened to me, I would say, about 10 years ago, too. I just really hit this wall with not being able to understand emails, not being able to write emails. Just, it was all I could do to open my email box. Just deadlines became these huge things that just loomed over me. I couldn't sleep. I had really horrible, erratic sleep. My mind was constantly going. I couldn't quiet my mind no matter what I did. I was always analyzing myself and what everybody else was doing and my relationship to what everybody else was doing. And I didn't have time or energy for the things I used to enjoy in life. Like I would work so hard, so long, all the time, constantly rethinking everything and reorganizing everything and pivoting where needed, collaborating with others until deep into the night. And when it came time to do something fun, like go visit someone or hang out with friends, I was just exhausted and I couldn't really do it. And it was really, really hard. Dragging myself to my kids' play or anything like that was hard, even though I was excited about it and I wanted to do it. And those were the things I had thought were going to be so wonderful about being an adult when I was a kid. I just couldn't do those fun things anymore. So burnout is like chronic exhaustion. It makes even the small tasks feel totally overwhelming. Even things you like to do feel like almost burdensome, which is really sad. There's also, with all of that, brings this just overarching lack of joy. When we constantly are rushing, it's hard to be present and savor the things that are wonderful in our lives. It's hard to just sit down to a good meal at the end of the day and good conversation and linger because in your mind, you're thinking, I've got to rush through this dinner because then I've got to clean up, then I've got to get kids in the bath, then I've got to do bedtime stories, then I have to get them asleep. Then I have 3 hours to myself where I can finish up work or do these other things I've neglected about my own personal life. And then I sleep and then I get back up and I'm doing it all over again. We're so rushing. We don't even take the time to appreciate small, tiny things. Then there's the physical health issues. High stress levels can lead to headaches. I used to have chronic migraines all the time. I was even on prescription medication for them. Digestive issues, that's a big thing for people. Sleep problems, that certainly was me, and a weakened immune system, 100%. I feel like during those times when you're really subscribing to the hustle culture, it's almost like you catch everything that comes by your way. And you tend to think, oh, that's just because my kids are in school, or I go into work, or I was at a busy grocery store over the weekend, or I went to an event. And you put this constantly getting sick on some other aspect of your life, which is part of your hustle. And you don't really realize that by pushing yourself too hard, you're weakening your immune system. There's mental health struggles that come along with it. Anxiety, depression, a deep sense of inadequacy often follow in the wake of chronic overwork. So true. I used to suffer anxiety attacks. I did suffer from depression. It was really, like I could get up and function, but nothing was happy. Nothing was joyous. And everything was so incredibly hard. And that all stemmed from this deep sense of inadequacy, which was the whole reason why I had subscribed to the hustle culture to begin with, was simply because I wanted someone to say I had worth or value. Another thing that happens when you're really into the hustle culture is disconnected relationships. When we're always on, we have less time to connect deeply with people we care about. We don't have time. Like I never talked to people I loved on the phone. And that's something I will regret for the rest of my life because two of those people were my parents. And I never had a moment where I could really genuinely talk to them unless I went to visit them. So when they called me on the phone, because I didn't live in the same town, I lived pretty far away from them, I didn't have time. I didn't have time to talk to them. And I considered my own personal life a hindrance, like, oh, now I've got to have this phone call, blah, blah, blah. And I stopped talking to people on the phone or connecting with people because of that. And here's the thing, no achievement is worth sacrificing your health and spirit. No attachment to this work hustle, to achieving, to being more than you you can be, to being better than the next person, to being the first one to do this, that, or other, is worth sacrificing your health and your spirit. So how can you slow down in this fast-paced world? I'm going to give you 10 things you can do. I did all of these and it really, really helped. And I did so much more. Like, one thing, I highly suggest you really explore, why are you subscribing to the hustle culture? Deep down inside, why are you doing it? And that will really shape how you move forward. And it'll give you a better sense of why you're doing it. And then you can work on your priorities a little bit. So, number one, set clear boundaries. Create firm limits around work time, screen time, obligations. You don't have to say yes to everything. Learn how to say no. No is actually really, really powerful. If you're available all the time, people don't value you as much. That's just kind of a weird quirk about always being available. You would think people would really value that you're always there for them. And I really bought into that. If I'm always there for everyone, if I'm a yes person, if I go the extra mile, do the extra thing, always available, then I will be really valuable. But it turned out I wasn't valuable. They really valued the people who were the least available, at least in the work world. And so I'm not saying create something that where you're never available just to get that affirmation. But what I am saying is, learn to say no. You can say no. People can hear the word no. And you can do it in nice ways. You don't have to yell, no. You could do it in a nice way, like, no, I actually have plans that night, whatever it is for you. But really sit down with your boundaries, which boundaries are hard work. You'll work on those your whole life, that it's hard. And sometimes we let ourselves down because we let people cross boundaries, or sometimes our boundaries are too rigid. And they need to have some flexibility. So sometimes you are going to say yes when you really want to say no, because you need to in that moment for whatever reason. It could be the person really needs you. It could be it's a crisis. It could be that, well, they helped me out yesterday, so I need to help them out. I feel good about that. Or that this person really needs your help at the moment. And it doesn't really have to do with hustle culture. It more has to do with, my neighbor needs a ride to the doctor, or whatever it is. So you need to have flexibility with your boundaries, but you also need to have some. Setting boundaries during work time was so huge for me. And I thought no one was going to value that or like that. And sure, at first, when I said, I no longer look at my work email on the weekends or holidays, people didn't really respect that. They just continued to email me all the time and then ask me the second I got into work on Monday if I'd seen those 10 emails about whatever it was. But slowly over time, they learned about my boundary and they respected it. And people would actually apologize if they sent me something over the weekend, because they know I don't look at my email on the weekends. So that was a boundary I put around my work time and my work life. I had other boundaries, like I always leave at 5 p.m. regardless of what's going on, because my workday's over then. And screen time was another thing that I had to really work on limiting, which is hard for me because I'm a writer and I have to do a certain amount of social media, which I'm horrible at, by the way. It's hard. It's hard to limit your screen time. But I try to do that, and I did it in certain sections. Like, I limit my news feed screen time and things like that. Work on what works for you and then check it out, test it out. Maybe one boundary won't work, but another one will. Or maybe you just need to redefine the boundary. So the second one, create intentional rest rituals. This is huge, whether it's morning journaling, which is what I do, a walk without your phone. Sometimes that's really hard to do, but because you have people who you're worried about who are out and about in the world, you can go for a walk without looking at your phone. It can be in your pocket, but you don't look at it or talk to anybody or anything. You're just walking. Or it can be an evening bath or a bedtime ritual, or a lot of times when I was picking up the kids at school, I would use that moment while I was waiting as intentional rest. I didn't try to learn anything, do any work, which I normally would do. I didn't use that time while I was waiting in the pickup line to do work. I used it as time to listen to some music I wanted to listen to absolutely nothing, think about my personal life, just create those little rest rituals. It doesn't have to be a big, grandiose thing, although it can be. It can be something small, like, I'm going to go take a shower, and for 20 minutes, no one talks to me. No one comes by the bathroom. You're not even allowed. near the door. Figure out what works for you. Another intentional rest ritual that I've been doing lately is when, like some of you know, I foster animals for a shelter. And I recently had two foster fails, two little kittens that came my way. So now they're part of my forever family. And when they come to be on my lap or they come to be with me, I stop what I'm doing and I pet them and I be 100% present. Same with my dog, Sweet Jane, which is also a foster fail, by the way. I do the same. When they come to me, I take a moment to stop what I'm doing and just be present with my animals for a little bit. And then I go on my way and continue on with what I'm doing. Number 3, practice mindful pausing. Throughout the day, take a few minutes to just check in with your body and mind. Notice how you feel, and try to do that without judgment. That can be really hard sometimes because when you take a moment to pause, especially if you're checking in with your body, you're of course going to check in with all those aches and pains that exist there. And then maybe you're going to have judgment about those. This was huge for me. As some of you know, I had surgery on my foot and I woke up during surgery and tried to get off the table. It's a whole long story in itself. I was frightened and they cut a bunch of tendons in my foot. And nerves. So I have neuropathy, nerve pain in my foot. And every time I would pause to check in with myself, I would use that moment to be like, oh, I have this pain in my feet. Well, that's because stupid me did blah, 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 or poor me, or whatever story I'd attached to it about why I'm now not valid. I use the pause a lot of times in between tasks, or maybe I use a pause if somebody says something that I'm going to respond to. I'll actually pause and not respond to it till the next morning if I need to, or just a pause to know. I do this little mindfulness practice where you can look at something beautiful, but try not to define it in your mind. Just look at it as what it is. Right now, I have this really beautiful succulent on my desk behind you, and it's really beautiful. And I try to look over at it every once in a while and not define it. Oh, my beautiful succulent that's in this gorgeous pot. I don't do any of that. I just look at it and enjoy its beauty for a couple minutes, or maybe even less, maybe 30 seconds. It's helpful if you put something that you like on your desk. It can be a picture of something, a scene you really like, flowers. You pick it. It's up to you, but you can do that mindful pausing whenever you need to. Or when you get up off your desk to go to the restroom or something, you can have a little pause before you come back. Or I used to, when I worked in an office, go outside because it was so gorgeous. I would go outside, but I would purposefully go out into nature and feel the air before I went back into the confined space of my office that had recycled air. And it was just a moment to walk in the redwoods for 5, 10 feet or so and have a mindful pause. 4, this is huge, redefine productivity. Remember, rest is productive. It rejuvenates you. So spend time recharging and it allows you to show up fully. Also, some of the best ideas I've ever had have come when I've decided to rest. I let everything go and it allows those things I've been working on, the answers to bubble to the surface. So try that. It's just so helpful. Redefining your productivity and using rest as one of the things. But also, what is productivity? It isn't running all around town with your head cut off. It's checking one thing off your to-do list for the week. It's taking a moment to redefine what is important this week to do. Redefine what productivity means to you. Maybe it's not doing everything, but maybe it's doing 2 things really well. 5, change your habits and routines, the ones that are too extreme or demanding. Like for me, one of the many routines that was too extreme and demanding is my own gym routine. It was way over the top. Whenever I achieved something at the gym, I pushed myself further every time. If I stayed 5 minutes extra at the gym, I had to do that every time I went thereafter. If I was running and I ran 5 miles, I would have to run 5.2 the next day. Now, there's something to be said about when you're training for something or you're working on a goal, but don't apply that to everything. I had applied these habits and routines to everything in that I was constantly really extreme in what my habits were. Everything had to happen at a certain time, and if it didn't happen, I would be very upset. I would do like certain things every day at certain times. So regimented just because my life was so wild and out of control. I had to have these regimented things all the time. Like it had to happen. If I wasn't in bed by 10 p.m., the sky was falling. And so I had to really look at those habits and routines and decide what was important for me, what is too extreme, what is too demanding, and how can I recalibrate those into something that works. Number 6, ask yourself why. Why do I need to be this productive? Am I looking for kudos or accolades? Am I looking to be seen, valued, noticed? How can I obtain this without being too extreme or through alternative means? Do I need to look within myself for those things that I need? That was 100% true for me. It was all inside all along, or the retelling of old stories, which I'm going to get to in a bit. So ask yourself why. Why do you need to be like this? What are you getting what you want out of it? Who was it? Einstein that said doing the same thing over and over again and not getting any results is the definition of stupidity. So if you're doing the same thing over and over again with the hustle culture and you're expecting it to shift, but it's not, you need to ask yourself why. Maybe the hustle culture is not getting you what you need. 7, ask for support. Huge, huge, huge. Share your intention to slow down with people you trust. Let them know what you need to help you slow down a little bit. A lot of times that's your friends, family, partners, support system. What do you need to slow down a little? Maybe it's talking to the daycare folks about something that you need. And is there a possibility to make that happen? Maybe it's talking to your partner or other people outside of you. It's also looking for help in spaces that are offering help, like journaling groups, which I have a bunch. So if you're ever looking for that, you can tap me and I'll help you hook into one. There's a therapist, there's getting acupuncture, there's getting a massage, there's doing something you really love, yoga, so many modalities, somatic modalities. There's just so much out there that you can take advantage of for support. And maybe that's what you need. Maybe it's a meditation teacher to help you learn how to quiet your mind. There's a lot of ways you can get support. Explore what those might be if you can't get support within your own structure. Number 8, challenge your beliefs. Gently question the old stories that tell you you're only valuable when you're doing. You're only worthy when you're doing. And retell that story to yourself because it's not true. You're worthy simply by being. You are already worthy. You are already valuable. And you are already everything you need to be. You're already whole. That was a huge thing for me. Huge, huge. Just feeling like I'm not invisible. And number 10, who are you letting create your reality? Are you surrounding yourself with people who value the hustle culture, value overachieving, have some old-fashioned work culture? Or are you surrounding yourself with people who value work-life balance, happiness, compassion, who value positive parenting, who value the way you want to show up in the world, who are also trying to show up in the world in the same way? Surround yourself with those folks and let go of the folks that are holding on too hard to things that aren't working for you. Maybe you continue in a job where everybody's into work hustle, old fashioned work culture, but you can surround yourself with folks who think other things in your personal life. Maybe it's joining a group that believes in what you believe in or that's working on the same things you're working on. Maybe it's getting more connected to parents who are struggling with the same things that you're struggling with, or maybe it's joining yoga or meditation or a basketball team. Who knows? It's finding where you can tap into your own people who have the same values you have around a happy, balanced life. Now, here's something huge. The most important piece of this is to give yourself permission to slow down. You don't need anyone's approval. You don't have to justify taking care of yourself. It's okay to rest. It's okay to step back. It's okay to choose a gentler pace. You deserve to experience your life and not just rush through it. And that includes taking a vacation at work and being sick at work. You have vacation days and sick days. Most of you. Some of you don't. And for those of you that don't, I think that's travesty. personally, but it's important that you allow yourself to rest and step back the best way you can. If you're in a job that doesn't support any of that, but you need to support yourself and your family and you can't take time off without pay or any of that, which is so many of us, what you can do is to look at how you can balance that within your personal life. What can you do in your personal life that will help you balance that when you need to rest, take care of yourself? Sometimes, I'll be honest, I am taking a shower at 6:30, 7 o'clock. I am getting into bed by 8 and reading a book and going to sleep by 9. Sometimes I'm doing that because I need to rest. So see how you can balance it if you can and what you can do to work on balancing it more in the future. I know a lot of us have really dominating bosses who are really subscribing to this old-fashioned work model or whatever the government is trying to project on them, and they're trying to do that. They need to reevaluate that. That doesn't have anything to do with you, but you can think to yourself, what can I do to balance this out while I have to be in this space? And does that mean looking for another job or figuring out something else I can do or just shifting my private life a little differently? What can I do to nourish myself? So thank you for spending time with me today. There's so much more to talk about this. I feel like we haven't really gone deep enough for folks that are really feeling trapped in a situation that they can't get out of. And if that is you, you can reach out to me if you like. I have a lot of different things we can do to help you on a one-on-one situation. You can go to my website, julianajbruno.com. There'll be a link in the description and get more help. Or you can also leave a comment or DM me on anywhere else that I am or on my website and start a conversation about it if you're really feeling like, yeah, but my situation is so much more worse than this. I hear you. It's the feeling of being desperate is really, really hard. And I want you to know that there is a support system for you out there. And if you need it, I'm happy to help you. So if this episode resonated with you, please consider subscribing to the podcast, leaving a review, or sharing it with somebody who could use this reminder. And if you want to be part of the conversation, like I always say, I care about you as a community. Leave a comment, start a discussion, and let's talk about it. And if you want me to do a podcast on something that relates to this, you can also let me know too. A lot of these podcast episodes are based on just that. I also want to let you know that our next session of journaling group and dream journaling group are starting up in September. Those are two separate groups. The next round is starting in September. I think they're going to be really, really great and deep and rich. It's really an amazing thing to be in a group of people doing the same exercise, working on themselves. So check that out on my website. If you can't wait until then, if you're feeling like you're ready for deeper support, we can start one-on-one sessions right now, and you can do that through my website as well or contacting me. Again, my website is julianajbruno.com. Don't forget the J in between Juliana and Bruno. And we'll figure out how to schedule some time. And I want you to remember that you matter, that your well-being matters, and that you deserve rest and care. And most importantly, you deserve balance and a happy, joyous life. So until next time, my friends, know that I love you and I support you and I care about you.